There's a path that's not for the weak-willed. It is a road walked alone, where temptations are many and societal pressures are relentless. The path of semen retention, particularly when followed with strict discipline, can lead one away from mainstream lifestyles, relationships, and even companionship, resulting in an inner and outer solitude. Yet, despite its profound benefits, semen retention is often a solitary journey, one that requires immense discipline, self-awareness, and resilience. It is not merely about abstaining from ejaculation, but about transmuting sexual energy into creative, intellectual, and spiritual pursuits. In Western traditions, including some esoteric Christian and Hermetic teachings, seminal energy was also regarded as sacred. Thinkers like Paracelsus, Aleister Crowley, and members of the Rosicrucian order discuss the transmutation of sexual energy as a path to higher consciousness and mystical power. Despite the promises and benefits, many who walk this path discover something else entirely: a deep sense of isolation. The phrase "the path of the lonely" encapsulates this experience. In recent years, semen retention has made a resurgence, particularly among men seeking self-improvement. YouTube, Reddit, example NoFap, and influencers have propelled the practice into popular culture. The claims range from increased testosterone and muscle growth to improved confidence, mental clarity, and spiritual awakening. In a world where sexuality is commodified and often shallow, semen retention offers a countercultural narrative. It calls for discipline, introspection, and conscious living. For many, it feels like reclaiming power from addiction, especially pornography addiction, and reasserting control over one's life. The path of the lonely, understanding the isolation. Romantic and sexual relationships are foundational aspects of modern social life. Choosing to abstain, especially over extended periods, can create a chasm between oneself and society. Friends may not understand. Partners may leave. Potential relationships may never materialize. This disconnection often leads to solitude. While some embrace it as a necessary phase of growth, others struggle with emotional toll. Unlike other forms of self-improvement, semen retention is still a fringe concept. Telling someone you're retaining semen for energy or spiritual power can invite ridicule or skepticism. This lack of understanding can foster a feeling of being an outsider, even among other seekers or wellness enthusiasts. Extended periods of celibacy can lead individuals to confront their identity, desires, and even existential purpose. Without the familiar rhythm of sexual release and romantic engagement, many find themselves lost. The silence can be deafening and the isolation profound. Though the path may begin with loneliness, it also offers a unique opportunity for transmutation, not just of sexual energy but of emotional states. Loneliness often turns individuals inward. For those on the semen retention path, this solitude becomes a portal to spiritual development. Meditation, prayer, and contemplation take on new depth. One begins to listen to the subtle voices of intuition and soul. Many practitioners report an explosion in creative energy. From painting and writing to coding and building businesses, the energy once spent on sexual release is now harnessed for creation. The solitude, painful as it may be, becomes fertile ground for genius. Walking alone builds resilience. The practitioner learns to stand alone, to find joy in his own company, and to derive validation not from romantic partners or social accolades, but from inner growth. This inner strength can be life-changing. Despite these transformations, the emotional struggles are real and not always acknowledged by the community that promotes semen retention. Some practitioners develop a sense of spiritual superiority, looking down on those who are sexually active. This ego inflation can isolate them further and sabotage genuine connections with others. The path then becomes a lonely pedestal. Practicing semen retention in the 21st century is paradoxical. On one hand, we are more connected than ever. On the other, this connection is often shallow and over-sexualized. For the practitioner, navigating this terrain can be both disorienting and empowering. Social media platforms, particularly Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, are rife with sexual imagery. Avoiding these triggers becomes a daily challenge and further isolates the practitioner from mainstream media and culture. Online communities like NoFap, YouTube channels, and Discord groups have become virtual sanctuaries. These spaces offer encouragement, accountability, and a sense of belonging. Yet, they are often echo chambers, reinforcing certain myths and avoiding deeper emotional truths like loneliness. Not everyone is meant to walk this path for life. For some, it's a phase, a reset button, a season of discipline, or a way to heal from addiction. For others, it's a vow, a lifelong commitment to celibacy and spiritual pursuit. One of the healthiest expressions of semen retention is not outright abstinence, but conscious sexuality. Tantric traditions emphasize sexual union without ejaculation, fostering deep intimacy and spiritual union without energy loss. Some choose to remain in relationships but retain their semen, communicating clearly with their partners about their goals. This path requires maturity, empathy, and a shared vision, a rare but profound union. Is loneliness an unavoidable part of this journey? To some extent, yes. Growth often requires solitude. Yet, loneliness is not the same as being alone. One can feel lonely in a crowd and deeply connected in solitude. The goal, then, is to move from loneliness to aloneness and finally to oneness, with the self, with the divine, and with existence itself. The warrior's path. Semen retention is not a fad. It is a warrior's path, a discipline that requires courage, introspection, and self-mastery. But it is not without its thorns. Loneliness, misunderstanding, and emotional upheaval are often part of the package. And yet, from this loneliness can emerge a new kind of strength, a quiet, steady flame that no longer seeks validation, release, or even companionship. A man on this path becomes his own anchor, his own lover, his own God. Semen retention is not just a practice. It is a way of life. It demands sacrifice, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to self-mastery. The path is lonely because true power is never found in crowds. It is forged in silence, discipline, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. In the silence, he hears the call of his soul. In the solitude, he meets himself fully. And in the discipline, he becomes whole. For those who endure, the rewards are limitless. Unshakable confidence, boundless energy, mental clarity, and a spirit unbroken by the world's decadence. Will you remain a slave to pleasure, or will you walk the path of the lonely and become a god among men? We have our community on Telegram. Try to click and join the link below for your great upliftment and all-round success.